Welcome back, fellow armchair generals. This is Gamer 1745 with my continuing look at Hearts of Iron 3's Black Ice 11.2, and of course we're playing as America. First time for me, so let's continue this. Sort of going this super fast here, but I'll pop up and pause so we get this stuff better. Okay. Export zinc. That's who? South Africa. No, I don't care about helping out South Africa, really. Okay, Schmeling KOs, knocks out Lewis. Joe Lewis, that is. Okay, electro steel welding. It's under industrial. And we'll let that continue. Yes, you can have crude oil. Industrial zone organization. A little more efficient with some of these things. Armor unit training there. Wants a trade deal, Canada. No, we've already given you enough stuff, Canada. Yes, money, good. Merchant Marine Act of 1936 was enacted to further the development and maintenance of an adequate and well-balanced American merchant marine, to promote commerce of the United States and to aid the national defense, and to repeal certain former legislation and for other purposes. Specifically, the act established the United States Maritime Commission and required the United States Merchant Marine that consisted of U.S. built, U.S. flagged, U.S. crewed, and U.S. owned vessels capable of carrying all domestic and a substantial portion of foreign waterborne commerce, which would serve as a naval auxiliary in time of war or national emergency. The act also established federal subsidies for construction and operation of merchant ships. This would later prove to be the humble beginnings of the Liberty Ship Program. 2 years after the act was passed, the Merchant Marine Cadet Corps, the forerunner to the United States Merchant Marine Academy, was established. Okay, so we could pass the bill. Seems like good purposes. No, we'll do this, yes. Screw Canada. Well, we've already traded and we've already given enough. For those of you who don't know my feelings on this, I don't disagree with the levels of the effects of some of the, okay, I guess they're at the top of these things. What I disagree with, because of course we already have, and it's not separated out as it is in HOI 4, obviously, because we just have rare materials here. We already have trading on these rare materials, which are meant to, resemble, or whatever you want to say, for things like tungsten, for rubber, for nickel, and whatnot. Now, like Germany and Russia both have severe copper shortages domestically, and that did affect the war for them particularly. I just think trading or doing any of this stuff outside of being inside of, being in the same faction, I just think is inappropriate. That's, I guess, in the shortest term, is unhistorical levels. It's more the levels I consider the control of production. Okay, we're in a pay, fine. Okay, small news, very good. We've gotten to low popularity, just what we want. Actually, through most of this period, the Democrats were very popular, and FDR was particularly popular, unlike current modern president who's a Democrat, who I don't think is very popular, although the Democrats are still sort of popular. Not saying they're not, but no one really likes Biden, including a lot of the Democrats who are, some of them that are sort of, shall we go, somewhat conservative Democrats. I mean, they're conservatives for Democrats. They're not like conservative Americans. But for the Democrats, don't like Biden. Some of them, okay, yeah. And then his left wing doesn't like him because he hasn't given them, like he promised, to forgive all student debt and things like that. So, just sort of an aside about that. I mean, there's huge reasons not to forgive the student debt just because what are you going to do? You're going to bankrupt the people that loaned them the money, or are you going to have all the rest of the taxpayers, the people who've paid off their debt, pay off their debt for them? So somebody's going to eat it. The debt doesn't disappear. So that's sort of effed up. But student debt, in America, you can declare bankruptcy. You go, yeah, hey, and you go to a bankruptcy court. Look, I got all these debts, but there's no possible way I can do it. And I forget exactly when this comes about in America. But you go, yeah, take any property that I have, like maybe if you own a house or whatever, and just clear out all my debts. And you get bankruptcy, and you go through the process, and all your debts are gone. And it's sort of based on the idea that banks, because those are the people who ultimately are loaning out the money, you were a bad risk and they shouldn't have loaned you the money. And so you go through it, and it sort of proves that you don't have the money. But then, after you go through that, yeah, you no longer owe any money, but no banks are really going to ever loan you money again. So it's not like a good thing to do. But I think it's the one big debt that you can never get rid of, even if you go through bankruptcy, is the student loan debt. But and the whole one of the reasons with all this stuff is because they have that protection, and because ultimately the government will pay the student, the institution back if the student doesn't after. So it's a messed up thing. It's all messed up. I agree with the people it's messed up, but hey, I got through university without any debt, so it could be done. I did not take loans. I think all these people that go take, so many people, and it really in America, for certain, especially back east, especially back here, the college or university, however you want to say, that you go to really can affect what kind of jobs you can get. Really can. But so many people go to these institutions and take underwater basket weaving or the equivalency of that. They'll go get a history degree. And it will be something that won't have a good monetization ability. Not, part of it is, yes, you're a university graduate and you graduated, and then so somebody will hire you just because they think you're better educated than other people and you're the right connection. So yeah, you can get a job. But so many people that go through the system get a degree that isn't going to help them pay it off. And they've gone to the prestigious college. Why? Maybe to get a good job. Okay, there's only two reasons you go to a prestigious college. One, you think it's going to get you somewhere in life. You're going to meet the right type of people. All your fraternity or sorority, brothers or sisters will all sort of pal around and get you connected in life, or just simply by getting a degree there, you're going to get special skills. Well, if you don't, if that's your goal, and then with the special skills you get good jobs. If that's your goal, why on earth do you then go take stupid majors? You don't go take accounting or civil engineering or something that's going to get you a good job. Why go into these prestigious universities that are going to cost all kinds of money and then not get a degree that's going to get you good jobs? I just don't get that. Now I went to a university. It's not a prestigious one. But yeah, I'm a university graduate. you know, but I did it without debt, so I don't have this debt looming over me. So, yeah, it's different, and I specifically didn't want that. Okay, giant infrastructure projects, public information secretary. So we're going to come here, stop that, and supply organization and supply transportation, which here, see, I sort of know where these things are. I've played this game a few times before, although Black Ice keeps sort of changing some of these up periodically. So I have to sort of relearn things. Thank you, Arna. Yes. If you're on YouTube, if you haven't already, please give the stream a thumbs up. It does help the algorithm. More people will help find this. If you like watching, particularly this particular series of America, the more people watching it, the more likely I'm going to continue it. And it's not so much like a threat or anything. It's just, why make a series if no one's going to watch? And yeah, I know there's going to be a few people that have been wanting me to play America. They're going to want to watch it. But if it's just a handful of people, well, you know, thank you, but I need to sort of kind of have a popular series going. We can prolong the okay. We get more Democratic Party neutrality, or we lose it. So yes, we're going to continue the Neutrality Act. There's no point not to trade with Iran. No, thank you. We don't need the money. We're getting plenty of money coming in. Merchant Marine ship subsidies. Lose money. Okay, yes. We have enough money to do that. And more leadership here. Let's do propulsion. Back up to medium popularity. Very nice. Okay. Yes, you can have your metal. You can have your rare materials. Hades stopped. 21 with something. No, we should be here. And let's do. And let's do. Yes, you can have energy. Okay, the Spanish Civil War is broken out. No, not a chance, Iran. Go away. Mover. Assassination attempt of opposition leader. Again, I hate these things that are just generic, but okay. Do what you can to calm things down. Yeah, all right. I guess it's combat. Yes, the biggest thing for me is just that they're not historical. I get the idea that they're trying to make the game a bit more interesting, challenging. We're going to do nothing in the American. Extra modifiers, do nothing. We're just staying out of this. Aluminum mines online. Yeah, cover that. Good. Gold there. So the biggest thing is that they're not historical. Yeah, I get that they're meant to maybe make it either more interesting or more challenging for playing it. But I also see them as lazy in that they couldn't code up something just for each nation that really sort of fits because there's things going on. Okay, machine gun focus advance. I think that, yeah. 38. Position twin engine airplanes 38. Reconnaissance and other reconnaissance. Stop. Okay. Yes, reorganize the show trials. We're back down to low popularity. Twin engine bomb bay. Is it possible for the U.S.A. to join the war earlier than 1941 in this game? I don't know. The possible. I would presume it's possible. But I don't know. I see. I can't declare war here. Our neutrality isn't enough. So I don't think it's going to be. We could try to lower our neutrality and whatnot. It might be possible, but I don't think that's a easy thing to do. I don't know. It's not just. It's just too. It's just super easy in Hoi 4, and you just justify blah 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 go. We're gonna postpone 6 months. Okay. I like a historical based game. I think you all know that. And I mean historically based as in, the chances, the percentage chances of the U.S. truly going, and not FDR sort of fascism, I mean the Silver Legion type fascism. They're a political party in America that's truly a fascist party. They had much more support than the German American Bund, which was Nazis, but that was really just focused in the German American community. It had very little reaching out to general Americans. It's just trying to look inside to the German American community, where the Silver Legion is just generally an American thing. But so it's like less than a 1% chance, less than America truly going fascist. So I like a game that that isn't going to happen, and just like America isn't going to decide to pick a king either. Whether somebody like yes, I do agree with some people, some historians. If George Washington wanted to be king, he could have made it happen. Several instances, but he had zero interest in it, and he had no interest in it whatsoever. He wanted a republic. But since then, there's no real chance of America becoming a monarchy. It's just not in the cards. So the idea of having, the American Monarchist Party and they take over, that's just total fantasy to me. So I want a game that represents history. Okay. So that take that as a basic understanding. Unlike modern America before World War II had very, very little interest in going to war. Now, you may point out the War of 1812. Well, the British were capturing American ships at sea, a little bit as they were trying to get into the coast of France, and Britain was just blockading France, but mostly they were capturing them out at sea and coming on board, and sometimes limiting it to people that they believed that they wanted to categorize as British. Other times just anybody on board ship. They were pressing sailors. because they needed sailors. Yes, probably a lot of them that they pressed into being sailors were born in England. And they had English accents. But they were Americans, either because they were in America when the American War of Independence was fought and they fought for independence, or they had since emigrated, maybe 5 days before, but they had become Americans. And so, yeah, we go to war in 1812. And yes, we go to war with Mexico. Well, that's because we were moving west, and Mexico had a lot of territory out here. And yes, we go to war with Spain, basically over... It's really pushed by the newspapers, really pushed by William Randolph Hearst and his papers, and it's really based around the Maine being blown up. It's a battleship that gets blown up in Havana Harbor. Whatever the reason, it gets blown up. It's a real thing. Lots of people die. And yeah, you get into that war. And of course, there's the Civil War. But really, America has very, very little interest in going to war. It takes the sinking of particularly the Lusitania in World War One, and then it's a combination. I mean, that Lusitania gets sunk. We don't go to war, but then the Germans back off from unrestricted submarine warfare, and then I don't know what the hell the Germans were thinking is, yeah, we're losing the war. We were afraid that America was going to come into it, so we backed off unrestricted submarine warfare, and that's not sinking enough British ships. What do they think is going to happen once they go back and start sinking American ships again? That it's somehow going to be better with America actually in the war? You know, so they get us into World War One. But America really isn't interested in going to war. It all went... Hell, Starstreak, it goes downhill with George... Well, it goes downhill from William the Conqueror. Or, you know, William III, I should say, not William the First. William III. That Dutch guy. It goes downhill from there. Not German George. German George is a non-entity. And, yeah. There's thoughts that if Frederick had become king, Starstreak, because Frederick really liked Americans. You probably don't even know who I'm talking about, but because that's how badly most people know history. But probably if Frederick had become king, you probably wouldn't have had the American War of Independence. But it really goes downhill starting with William III. But yeah, don't get me on that. So, like I say, America is not, they get into World War One, but they're not really interested in going to war. So, there's a huge peace movement going in America. Once the war in Europe starts, there's a huge peace movement. They just don't, because there isn't intercontinental planes or intercontinental missiles carrying nuclear weapons. There just isn't seen in America. What do we care? We have a pretty big Navy. If we need to, we can build a few more navies. Before World War II, there is no ability to get in an airplane in Europe, fly and bomb America and fly back home. Yeah, I know the Condor airplane and a few others are doing one-way trips, specifically designed to go one way to America and back. Or you go to there and then refuel and go back. But America seems like it's on its own little island. Canada, even as part of the British Empire, really can't invade. I mean, yeah, Britain can go to war with us, but we can build a navy. They can't do much. And yeah, Mexico, it's a big country. It could be popular. It could be powerful, but there's one problem. One problem with Mexico, and no, I'm not going to make any of you guess at what it is. The problem with Mexico, it's filled with Mexicans. That's the problem with Mexico. Mexico is a wonderfully rich geographic nation. It just is corrupt as all hell because its culture is corrupt. I've had lots of Mexican friends. And it's not that the individual. It's a corrupt place, and the people allow it to be corrupt. So it's filled with Mexicans. It's a corrupt government. It's a corrupt culture. It's not just that there's somebody that's corrupt in power. It's just the whole system is corrupt. And so, America just sees itself as, what do we care about the rest of the world? So if America trying to think here. Yes, FDR had the ability and was working on it to get America into World War II, because he is right. The Nazis winning in Europe. He even saw that the communists, now if the communists were sort of contained, the Bolsheviks contained to Russia as he would have seen it. Okay, it's contained, but without Russia being contained and seeing the Nazis, he wasn't really worried about the fascists. He was worried about the Nazis, and he was worried about the Soviets. If they got conquered Europe, and if Japan conquers China and whatnot, that's going to be a serious, many generational problem for America, and he wants to get the U.S. into the war. I'm not saying there is zero moral component in his thinking. I'm sure there is some of that going on, but it's as much about geopolitical situation the world's going to be in. But if he had gotten America into the war, I don't know that we could have defeated Japan. I do know that there was starting to question the losses in some of these places. I don't know if specifically over Iwo Jima here, but Saipan, I forget in reading is some of the stuff I've read. Some of the newspapers, when they got some of the totals, and some of them were very quickly censored down, censored out the actual casualty totals, but some were published in some of the newspapers in San Francisco to a point that, and this upset the Marines and sailors in San Francisco, that they stormed, just on their own and off duty, they stormed the publishers of one of the newspapers, or I forget one, and wrecks the newspaper office because they're just upset at their anti-war stance. How many casualties, and it was more, it was not so much was the war worth it, because everyone was vehemently upset with the Japanese, much more than the Germans, than they were upset with the Germans. They were vehemently upset at the Japanese. But it was, the newspaper was more complaining about particularly Nimitz and the war, because those were the high casualties for this fairly small battle, not so much about MacArthur's push up through the Philippines. But had we had these high casualties without Japan attacking the United States, I don't know how well America would suffer it. To bring it to today's situation in Ukraine, I don't know how many casualties there's been in the fighting in Ukraine for the Russians. I don't know. I don't right offhand know the reported casualties from whoever's reporting them, but I definitely know there's a lot of propaganda, and I think wild propaganda coming out of the Ukrainian people's, government. Um, I do think the Bacha deaths were definitely done by Russia. I do believe that, but I do think of the Ukrainians are making other wild claims that are untrue, just to try to get support for it. That doesn't mean I'm on Russia's side. I'm just saying war propaganda is part of war. But I think, according to some reliable reports, there has been as many casualties so far for the Russians in the Ukraine fighting as for the whole time of them occupying Afghanistan. Okay? The Soviets. And that's what brings down the Soviet Empire, is the casualties from occupying Afghanistan. And as it sinks into the Soviet peoples, I've got to try to use my language correctly here, the Soviet peoples, that this is not a war of liberation. Yeah, sure, a lot of the population, at least initially in like Kabul, sort of like, yay, hey, the Soviets are here because they were sort of a socialist country already, and they're here to support Western culture. Yeah, sort of the modernist, shall we say, in Afghanistan, and certain tribes, because it's tribal, ended up aligned with the Russians because their enemies were the other tribes. But it really wasn't bringing socialism to the people. It was really military occupation. And the people had enough, and that really brings down. I mean, there's many other problems with the Soviet Union, but it's sort of the, shall we say, the straw or the log or whatever that breaks the camel's back, along with many other ones. So I don't know, as the Russian people really start to hear of all the funerals or death notices get out, just how bad things are going in Ukraine right now for them. I don't know how well Putin's going to be able to sustain the war. Well, FDR would have had that problem, a serious problem, had he entered the war without Japan's attacking Pearl Harbor. Attacking Pearl Harbor and sinking the fleet galvanized America's support for the war. And so going in early should have huge penalties, Arno, and this is where we all start. So things have to go 100% well for the Americans at that sort of export of tungsten. Chile, not a chance. Energy, yes. I don't money. I don't give you money. Oil, bombs, and incendiary bombs. I think those are both one and dones. Okay, let's come back down here. Reconnaissance. We haven't gotten mobile units. We got to get mobilized infantry. We can start that 37. At that point. Not too many projects as it is. Okay. All right. Action suspension. I think that's here now. Here. Put it freeze up that. Get that armor plate thickness up. And submarine crew. Okay. Well, we're going to keep this going. Probably will, just because we're American. Probably going to research almost everything, but that's the one class of submarine I don't terribly much need for American. Who? Siam, no. I don't care if you have the money for it. I'm not giving you any. Yes. Gold medal for Jesse Owens. Great. Twin engine airframe research advance. One in cast armor construction, which I think is here. It is then stopped. We'll do. Well, we already got too many. No, that's all right. Torpedo tubes. Yes, we'll give New Zealand some energy. Medium fuel tank. Military police. And what does... Okay, we're going to postpone mine investment again because I think we have plenty. 6 months. And I think we're going to end the episode here. I want to thank you all for watching, and if you haven't already, please subscribe, please like the video. Hope to see you around in the near future, like tomorrow when we have hopefully more Hearts of Iron. Okay, everyone, we're going to stop.